This Three Beards Media podcast is sponsored by Revelton Distilling Company. When Rob and Chrissy Taylor started following the Kentucky Bourbon Trail in 2012, they fell in love with not only bourbon, but the entire distilling process. Just 8 short years later, in 2020, Revelton Distilling Company was opened, offering an entire family of products including vodka, gin, whiskey, and Revelton Shine. Come visit the tasting room at 1400 West Clay Street in Osceola, Iowa, where you can sample one of their many spirits, including 4 gold medal winners. Can't make it to Osceola today? Not a problem, as you can pick some up at your local Hy-Vee or Fairway grocery stores. Follow Revelton Distilling on Twitter or Instagram at ReveltonDC or their website www.reveltondistilling.com.
This Three Beards Media podcast may contain mature themes, and if you're not down with that, we got 3 words for you. Like the podcast. Nailed it!
Would you like to sample some of my nuts?
Good evening and welcome back to yet again another edition of Old Pardon me, another edition of Old Man Strength. I just had a coughing fit right before we went on the air. And apparently there's still something in my throat. Anyway, this is Old Man Strength, the podcast of Three Beards Media, and brought to you by Revelton Distilling Company. I am Tim Johnson, joined as always by Chris Shipley. Chris, I hope you're doing better than me because I'm struggling right now.
If that's not the pure opening for an old man podcast, if somebody's gagging, I'm just taking a drink. It's ridiculous.
Oh,
Nothing like I. That's what I appreciate about Tim. He's always right on brand. I've had a busy night. I just finished wrapping up producing Sigh of the Storm with George. He announced his new beer collaboration with First Down Brewery in Winterset, which is actually ran by a former Iowa State player, which I did not know.
Oh, really?
Sam Anker, who was a long snapper in 2010.
Sure. Okay.
And then Brent Bloom hopped on, and it was really nice. George and him kind of talked about, there was a little bit of Twitter back and forth today about, why do we have 3 beers and why do we have, all this competition and whatever. And it was nice to see George and Brent kind of work through those questions. If it's one thing that Iowa State fans can do, they can support beer, plenty of it. So it was pretty neat. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, so I had to wrap George up. He's a big talker. I had to wrap him up so we could get to our show.
He's listening right now, so I'm sure he really very much appreciates that for sure. Well, excellent. Well, say, I could choke through anything going on in my life, but I'm really excited to get talking with our guest this evening. So I'm going to go ahead and just let you go ahead and hop into it and introduce our guest.
Yeah, it's crazy how I decide who I figure out I want to bring him on. I had not really thought of this gentleman for a while, just because it's not football season and things like that. And then some account tweeted out probably the greatest juke I've seen from an Iowa State player in the Louisiana Tech game with Real Mitchell when he juked that guy out of his shoes. And Real commented on it, and then Cyclone fans were like, "Oh my God, let's." So I reached out, and Real Mitchell was nice enough to hop on the pod with us. So Real, thanks so much for coming on. We appreciate it.
Oh, thank you guys for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, it is super cool to have you on. That was a brief overlay. I mean, you played at Iowa State. You moved on to Temple. Now you're over at San Diego. Why don't you catch everybody up with what you're doing right now?
Yeah, so like you said, played at Iowa State 18 and 19 season, then decided to transfer to Temple University for the 20 season, and then I guess half the 21 season. Then decided to transfer yet again to come back closer to home. I'm originally from California, so I want to come down to sunny San Diego, and going into my 6th year. Can't believe I'm saying that, but yeah. in college, and it's funny. Obviously, your guys' podcast is called Old Man Strength, and my nickname on my team now is Grandpa. So
Well, look at that.
Minute, so everything ties together pretty well here.
You keep growing that beard, you can be the fourth beard over here too. Yeah.
No, I have to imagine though that with the COVID year and everything going on, there have been a number of programs where you get some more extra senior leadership on those teams.
Yep. Fortunately or unfortunately, with the whole COVID situation, got an extra year of eligibility. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I use it properly and can make it to the next level.
Well, excellent. Well, we appreciate you you coming on. You mentioned there briefly originally from California. So why don't you go and tell our listeners a little bit about growing up California, what that process was like, and then going and getting recruited to play some football.
Yeah, so originally from Southern California, grew up in a what was a small town, now it's a city called Eastville. It's pretty much in the, I'm going to say middle of nowhere, but Inland Empire. There's farm all the way around. So when you think of Southern California, it's not the beach. However, it's only like an hour away. Went to St. John Bosco High School. This was, I guess, in 2014, something like that. And Josh Rosen was just coming out of there. And so I was able to learn from him a little bit my freshman year. And then ended up starting my junior year, one state there. And then, recruitment kind of started picking up after that. After that season, Iowa State came into the mix. It was one of my middle offers. And I was really, interested in it. I think going back, I really wanted to get out of California, actually. So I was really more inclined to those offers that were out of state. And so the staff was great. They came out, did the home visits, all that good stuff. Took my official there. Iowa State was actually the only official I took. I took a couple unofficials, but official-wise, Iowa State was the only one I took. I remember, being there. Coach Hoff at the time was the quarterback's coach there. And, I wanted to commit on the visit type of thing. But, with recruitment, how kids go about it, there's like silent commits. There's all this other intricacies within recruitment and whatnot. But waited a little bit, waited as long as I could. Didn't want my spot to get taken or anything like that. So decided to commit to Iowa State, early enrolled there. And I guess that's kind of how my journey started and how I ended up at Iowa State.
So moving to Ames from California, living in a farm community, probably wasn't that big of a culture shock then coming to Ames, other than I would venture the cold in the winter.
Yeah. So like I said, early enrolled, I really had never seen snow before. So as you guys know, January is snowing. And I think it was the second winter I was there was the one that was like really bad. But I guess if you guys, or for everyone that doesn't know, I was on a show called QB1, and I guess it kind of captured that part of it, which was really cool. So, much older, I can always look back and see that part of my life, which is neat. But it was freezing. But I was like really excited for it anyway. Now, one thing that they don't warn you about though with the snow is how long it is. Like, after the first month or two, I kind of got old of it, but I was super excited to be there nonetheless.
I mean, I'm up here in Minnesota, so our winter should probably start in about 5 minutes.
Right.
And it just got over about 30 minutes ago. So no, I get that. But no, that's interesting you say about California. There are parts of California I've noticed, as you get, further away from the coast, that do very much remind me a lot of Iowa and the Midwest in a lot of ways. That kind of small farming community, just the values, what people focus on. I think a lot of times we tend to focus on California and think of Southern California and particularly LA, San Diego, things like that, or San Francisco even as being what represents the state. But the state probably is a lot more kind of diverse in class and a number of socioeconomic factors that people don't think about.
Definitely, yeah. The further away you go from the cities, those concentrated cities like you mentioned, the more it resembles more the Midwest. Yeah.
So you mentioned briefly about QB1 and the Netflix series, and we did get a question about that from a listener. How did they approach you? How was that process? Were you nervous? We're hearing things like now with the new quarterback series on Netflix that a lot of the quarterbacks that they're asking about year 2 don't want to do it because of the distraction and whatever else. So I would imagine your parents were probably a little worried, like, listen, you're a high school kid. We don't really need cameras following you around all the time. How was that process? How did you make that decision? And then would you do it again, I guess?
Yeah. So I was on season 2 of QB1, and season 1 featured like Tate Martell, Jake Fromm, and Tavon Bowers, I think his name is. And so I remember, I guess I would have been a junior watching season 1, and like I'm in like physics class with like a couple of my friends, and we're watching it, and I'm thinking to myself, it'd be really cool if I could, on the next season, I just came off of winning state. I obviously play quarterback. I played for number 1 school at the time. My mom's a celebrity. So I'm like, I got a lot of stuff going for me here. I mean, maybe, I don't even know if they're going to have a season 2, but maybe I could be on it. And so I think it was like a couple weeks before camp started, I actually got a DM on Twitter from the producers of QB1 asking if I would be interested in being on it. And I was like, yes, of course, let's do it. And so that's kind of how I guess I got reached out about it. It was funny because I've watched the Netflix series on quarterback, and it wasn't until like halfway through I was like, wait a second, this is literally like QB1. So I thought that was pretty neat. Would I do it again? I think I would. I think, yeah, when you do a type of reality show like that, there are distractions that come with it. And so, yeah, if I was gonna do it again, I would do it just because I feel like everything happens for a reason. And I think how that show kind of played out, I think there's a lot of things I could learn from it and others could learn from it as well. So that's why I would do it again. It was super fun filming. I think some of the editing could have been a little more favorable, I would say. But it's showbiz. It made for great TV. So I mean, sure, I watched it. So yeah, I would definitely do it again.
So you mentioned your mom there a little bit. I think we'd be remiss if we did not talk about your mom. I grew up watching American Gladiators very much. That was one of my favorite things to watch. So your mom, Blaze, on American Gladiators, for our listeners who may not be aware, but she's someone who probably understands what it means to be involved in a production like that. Did she give you advice? Did she tell you yes? Did she tell you no? Did she shake her head at you? What was it? What was her approach to that whole experience?
Yeah. So, well, if you guys also don't know, and to the viewers out there, Netflix came out with a series called Muscle and Mayhem.
Yeah.
I mean, super recent, like last month.
I just finished it last week.
Awesome. So yeah, it kind of recaps and kind of catches up with the Gladiators now. And so, yeah, she was all for it. She's very supportive and positive and everything. So I think, she was happy for me in that opportunity that we got to kind of partake as a family, really. So it's just another thing that's going to be really cool that I can go back, years later when I have my family and whatnot, we can kind of look at it and see what we can take away from it then.
Your mom was a track athlete originally, right?
Yeah. So she went to the University of Nebraska. And so when I was showing interest in Iowa State, she was all for it because she loves the Midwest. She was like, yes, like, let's go there type of thing. So I went to the University of Nebraska, did hurdles and triple jump, then went ahead and went to the Olympic trials, and I think it was 84.
Wow. Okay. So, so University of Nebraska definitely. Did she give you advice on going to the Midwest? Obviously, she didn't prepare you enough for winters, but
Right. I wouldn't say really advice. Just she really enjoyed her time there and the people there and how like her whole experience. So she just wanted me to probably have a similar experience to that, and so that's why she was kind of team Midwest for sure.
Now, your dad was a Marine. So, I mean, growing up, your mom is Blaze on American Gladiator. Your dad's a Marine who I believe trained and did some stuff with the Gladiators on there. And did I read somewhere that, and if I'm wrong, I apologize, that your dad was one of the longest serving Marines in history as well? Is that right?
I mean, 30 years is a long time, so
right, yeah,
that probably puts you up there somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know that for a fact, like as far as what number he would be in
right,
that type of thing. But yeah, he did serve 30 years, so that is a bit of time for sure.
So, what was that dynamic growing up with in a household with a Marine and your mom so disciplined and training and athletics and things like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, my dad, who's really a huge influence on me and like my football journey. And so he, aside from, instilling discipline and respect and similar traits like that are obviously core values in the military with me, as well as my sister. He was a huge influence on football for me. Was a coach on my little league teams and whatnot. Whereas my mom was more of the track side. Obviously, like I said, she ran track at Nebraska. So, it's football season and track. That's what I did growing up. And, one was helping with the other and kind of working as a team in that way. So I was really excited to eventually, switch over full-time football. Trust me, because I'm no joke. So I'm really happy with how everything turned out.
Well, so we were talking here kind of at the outset here, the famous juke clip that you have, which I think is obviously, I think both track skills and American Gladiator style skills. I think as much as you want to go full-time football, I think you can't discount, I think what those other sports gave to you and kind of what that pedigree gave for you.
No, for sure. What about the juke though in particular? Or we
just I think how iconic that is, and something that I think maybe I would have. I don't think about every single day, but every time that clip comes up, I just think, man, like that guy just went right out of his shoes.
Oh yeah, it was something for sure. I don't really like. I remember, obviously the play. However, like the juke, and in that moment, I don't think I consciously, I guess, remember it in a sense of like, and this is kind of like just how every kind of game goes for me, like with jukes and stuff like that. It's really just like, I guess, like second nature in a sense of like you're not thinking about it, it kind of just happens. I do know the ground was a little slippery there.
It was a little wet there that day. Yeah.
I'm just happy I was able to stay up and he didn't, obviously. So it was definitely something, like you said, a combination of that football and especially that track to be able to maneuver like that.
Is that something though when you catch that clip, and sometimes you can't not be watching some of these things that come up on Twitter? There has to be a little bit of you that has to look at it and be like, damn.
Maybe, I think if anything, the freaking the commentator, his line was just,
yes.
I was stuck on that because I'm like, well, did he have that ready? Did that
right?
Just trigger him to say something like that? So I think that's the more of the freaking funny part and more the memorable part of the play, really.
So why don't we go ahead and talk a little bit? So you kind of mentioned about your journey. You're getting prepared to be old man on this last season. What is that looking like as you're preparing for the next few months here?
Yeah, so obviously at Iowa State, played quarterback, transferred to Temple, same pursuit, play quarterback, transferred again. Guess what? Same pursuit, play quarterback. And that would have been last fall camp. Didn't really pan out the way, obviously I wanted it to at the time. I think it was like the second week of camp. Not really getting the reps that you would think you should get if you're going to be the guy type of thing. So I wanted to sit down with my offensive coordinator and was like, listen, I've been around, I see the writing on the wall here. Hey, I just want to get on the field and contribute as much as I can to help our team out as much as I can. So he was all for that and happy I was able to come and talk to him about that. And so last year I still played quarterback, played running back, played receiver. So I was more of like an all-purpose type of utility type of player.
Mhm.
And going into this season, I'll be playing predominantly wide receiver. However, I mean, if we're being honest, the way, we have a new offensive coordinator who was on staff, who actually coached at Iowa, so we have some beef there.
What you're saying is you're going to run a lot. You're going to do a lot of 2-yard outs is what you're going to be running.
Right. Yeah, we go at it every day here and there with some snark comments. But I'll probably end up throwing more touchdowns this year than any other year before. I'll be playing running back, quarterback, and receiver this upcoming season. I'm on some draft boards right now, which is neat. So hopefully, if I'm able to put my best foot forward this season, I can get drafted next year. Fingers crossed. And you guys keep me in your prayers, please.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is that? What is that like to see that process play out? Like, I mean, especially because the journey that you've been on, multiple stops, multiple positions, but just being that athlete. Sometimes, particularly the NFL, I think just rewards athletes. The number of quarterbacks that have converted to something else in the NFL, I think, certainly speaks to just the rewarding athletes. But what is that like for you to see your name come up on some of those things?
It's you're just one step closer, to it really happening. Obviously, I've worked my whole life for the opportunity to play at the next level. And so however I get there at this point, however I get there, I'm trying to get there. So that's kind of how the conversation went with my offensive coordinator last year was, I only have 2 more years. I'm going to try to make the most of it. And so, however I get there, I'm going to be happy nonetheless.
You're obviously still have a little bit of piece of your heart still in Ames. You're wearing an Iowa State Cyclone t-shirt. When you were there, the quarterback room there was pretty loaded. I mean, if people don't know, Brock Purdy was in that room. Of course, Kyle Kemp, who, is an Ames legend at that point, beating Oklahoma, things like that. What was the quarterback room like in there? What was your relationship with those guys? And then at what point did you start thinking, I need to go somewhere else to go play?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think first off, let's see here. There's like a hierarchy of things in my life I love. First is my faith, Jesus Christ. Second's my family, and third, Cyclone football. So it's really
God, you're sticking a knife right in me, Real, man. I can't tell you how many times I was like, boy, I sure wish Real was still around.
But to get to the rest of your question, that quarterback room was awesome. I mean, you literally had what's crazy to think, Kyle Kemp, who was like one of the first 6 years to even, before that was
right, he was the grandpa when you were there.
Exactly, right? hey, so he would talk in front of the team at camp. That's what seniors normally do. And I just remember hearing his story because, like you said, he's a walking legend there, and hearing his story. And then I'm a early enrollee, freshman. I'm just 6 years. I'm like, I don't want that to be me. I'm like, nah. This is crazy. And hey, so probably shouldn't have thought that. But with Kyle Kemp in the room, obviously you have Brock Purdy, who's doing great things now. also in the room. Myself, I think Zeb Nolan was there also, who obviously last season came out of nowhere for South Carolina, which
wasn't even supposed to be playing. Yeah.
Crazy, but so happy for him, and he got that opportunity because I know obviously he's been working for that. But yeah, it was a great room. You had that dynamic of really old to medium to really young, and we were all able to really feed off each other and make each other better. Even when Brock got the job and I was at number 2, I was still trying to do as much as I could to obviously help him and try to prepare him for those game days in Ames. And I think it was such a great year. I'm pretty sure we beat West Virginia, who was like number 3 team in the country. It was just such a memorable season for him. And I think, everyone in that room really helped each other grow.
So Brock's a good example right now about biding your time and being the best at your role that you're in at the time and being a big support, whether that's holding a clipboard or whether that's helping motivate other guys. I think, I think that entire group has learned that none of those players came in with anything handed to them. All of them kind of had to wait and continue to have to wait, and great success is coming over time.
No, yeah, definitely. I think no one was really that surprised when Brock had a lot of success this past season, his rookie season. I mean, he's a by the book type of guy, one of the best human beings I've ever met. So, with his work ethic and his competitiveness, I mean, I wasn't surprised that he was able to have a lot of success this season and hopefully can continue to have that success.
So that game that Kyle got hurt in and Brock came in at Oklahoma State, from a fan's perspective, I was over here going, what the hell is going on? And where's this kid been this entire time? At what point on the sidelines are you guys like, what is going on? Like the pump fakes and the runs, and he's flinging the ball down to Akeem. And I mean, you guys had to have been like, where has this been?
Right. I mean, oh my gosh, I'll never forget. Freaking goosebumps coming back right now. I mean, he's high stepping going down the sideline on the state, and me and at the time Rudy Wade, who was the strength coach, we were just looking at each other like, what is going on? Like, we're shoving each other back and forth. It was this awesome time. And if you look back at Brock's high school tape, or just you see a lot of similarities with it. So it was just really a matter of time before he got his opportunity and was able to run away with it like he did. But yeah, that Oklahoma State's first start, because we were the same age too, it was almost like it was my first start too, in a sense of like, I'm just as nervous for you, my guy. Like, this is crazy. But he handled it great and played a great game.
I mean, that's fantastic. I think one thing I've always heard about you, and I think as a parent, is that you are kind of the ultimate teammate, where you care so much about your teammate's success and their success is your success, and you feel all of that. How are you able to share that message then to now the younger players in San Diego, that kind of that same message of we're all on the same ship together?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, learn through, I should say, experience when it comes to that. And I think honestly it has to do with like how I was raised for the most part, and being humble and not, egotistical in any way, where it's like, why not be happy for someone else if they're, finding success? And at the end of the day, faith is a huge cornerstone of my life. And, maybe my time for this isn't, at that time, you know what I mean? But, having the faith that my time will come is something that I think is a message that I'm going to, try to pass down to the younger guys. And obviously do your best in, every facet of life that you can. And when you can, so when you have that opportunity, you don't waste it, type of thing. And so, yeah, I think a large part of how I'm able to keep that positive mindset and to uplift my teammates is through that faith that I was raised with.
So We're going to go ahead and take a break here for a second. We're going to grab a word from our sponsor. When we get back, I want to go back touching a little bit more about how you're raised. We talked about your mom. We talked about your dad. But I do think you kind of have a unique perspective. So I want to go ahead and jump in that. So we'll talk a little bit more when we get back from a word from our sponsor, Revelton Distilling Company.
At Revelton Distilling Company, everyone has become a part of the Revelton family. From the Taylors and their daughter who helped perfect their award-winning gins, to the team who installed Lucy, our 33-foot-tall custom-made still, right down to the local farms that provide our coveted corn, and even the cows on those farms who consume our mash byproduct. Want to see the farm to flask come to life? Now you can tour Lucy and find out where we take Iowa's harvest and transform it into our finest spirits. Choose between a 45-minute tour or find out even more by scheduling a VIP behind-the-scenes tour to get the taste of the full Revelton experience. You can visit them at 1400 West Clay Street in Osceola, Iowa, or find all of Revelton's award-winning spirits at any local grocery or spirits retailer.
And we are back. Thank you, listeners. Once again, this is Old Man Strength, in case you did not realize what you've been listening to for the last half hour. We are talking with Rael Mitchell. Rael, you were talking a little bit about being raised with kind of a spirit of humility. I think, for me, I think I would have a hard time with that with someone whose family is probably a little bit more in the spotlight. One of our listeners actually asked, did you even understand kind of what a big deal it was what your mom was doing? Because I mean, she didn't just do American Gladiators, she also was in some feature films. Like, she had a whole other thing. Did you even have a sense of that when you were a kid?
That's a great question, and I thought I did kind of until Muscle Mayhem came out on Netflix.
I wondered what your response would be to that.
You know, because they went on tours and stuff, and I really didn't have any idea about that. And to be able to actually like see the tours and like see it, I think really put a lot more into perspective for me. Because obviously I've seen like, you know, old clips of you know, some different obstacle courses, and I get the gist of the whole thing. But I think seeing that Netflix show really put into perspective how big and how impactful that was at the time, which was awesome. And I don't know if I think it's probably a good thing that I didn't know it was that big at the time growing up. I think that's a good job of my parents of like not, you know, I mean, I guess either whether it's braggadocious or whatever it is about their success. I didn't really realize it until 3 weeks ago. So
have you watched something on that show and been like, Mom, what the hell? Like, there have to have been some things that have been a surprise.
Let me think. On the show itself, not so much. I didn't really, and then, like, Muscle Mayhem does a great job of like talking about like the whole like steroids, like I guess what word am I looking for? Not coming to me, but whole steroids deal. And
I mean, it was a huge just fiasco, whether that be on that show or just in bodybuilding in general, or even just, I mean, we're talking in that early, the nascency of the steroids era of baseball, like,
right. Yep.
Right.
So,
it's getting in there before people really realized, like, okay, this is getting out of hand.
Exactly. And I think the show kind of painted that and was really informative in that sense. So, yeah, I had no idea that was really a huge thing. I mean, like, my mom never did steroids, and it was always, competing in like natural bodybuilding type of events. And like, I mean, she's, in her later years, but looks 25, you know what I mean? So, dude, damn near more than me. I mean, we're together all the time. She's deadlifting, squatting, benching, all that good stuff still. And so I think, if anything, that was something I was like, oh, wow, I really didn't realize how big of a deal like the whole steroids pandemic was at the time.
Yep. So does your mom give you a hard time about your strength and conditioning regimen?
No. We have a great relationship when it comes to that stuff. Like, obviously, she was my track coach for forever growing up, and like when I was transferring from Iowa State, COVID had happened. So as far as like official visits, that wasn't a thing. And so I kind of had to like work out like on my own. And so that was the first time I had to like come up with a whole like workout regimen for myself. And then transferring from Temple, I wouldn't say the same thing, but it was like a semester there where like I had to work out on my own and like kind of like, so I took a lot of things I've learned from like my parents just growing up and was able to like really put that into motion. And so that was just really neat experience that I've had throughout my college career so far.
So you mentioned the transfer portal, and you've been through that twice. For us that wouldn't experience that, what is that like? Are you getting calls immediately? Are people, how do they contacting you? What's the process look like for somebody going through the transfer portal?
Yeah, so man, I feel like it's probably so much. I don't want to say different from when I went into it, because so when I went the first time in 2020, the one-time transfer rule had not been passed yet. And so I was talking to a good amount of schools early 2020 that wanted me to attend there, but they were saying things along the lines of, as long as this one-time transfer rule goes through, we want you. We obviously don't want you to come here and take up a scholarship if you're not going to play, because normally you have to transfer, get a waiver for your immediate eligibility, and that's how it used to be. And so once COVID happened, though, and that's what I was banking on, going into the portal in January, COVID happens, they pushed that hearing back. I was fortunate enough to get some offers the first time around in the portal. So yeah, you'll go in the portal as soon as your name hops in. Every football program has a certain part of their office that literally their job is to look at the portal and see when people go in and see if those are good fits for their teams. So you'll immediately start getting like follows from position coaches at other universities, maybe even text messages from like high school if you still have those coaches' numbers. And so the first couple of days are honestly, it feels good, I guess, in a sense, because you got a lot of attention.
Yeah.
However, that attention kind of dies down as time goes on. So yeah, there is for me at least, there was like an initial wave of a lot of attention and coaches. So because that one-time transfer rule didn't pass, though, I wasn't able to go to some of the schools that I wanted to go to. And because of COVID, I also wasn't able to take any visits. So literally like the weekend before I was going to take my Temple visit, they had like shut down the airways. Like 4 days before. I was like, oh, come on. So then coaches would come to me. So then like the Temple coaches flew out to Ames actually and sat down with me in my apartment and whatnot. And so you're really just going off of what sounds the best in that specific time if you were in the portal.
Sure.
And so I went to Temple.
Had you been to Philadelphia before you made that commitment?
No. I had it. Yeah, I had it. And I always say this. So Iowa State was probably the best 2.5 years of my life. And then the next year and a half, and I was at Philly, or when I was in Philly, was, I would say, the inverse, but I also learned a lot more so about life than football there. So I'm, I would, if I could do it again. Well, let me not answer that. But I was
I was gonna say, be careful. You're gonna get drafted by the Eagles. So
I know. Trust me, I would love that opportunity too. Don't get me wrong there. But, well, I was gonna say, like, if I were to do it again, like with the whole COVID, like I didn't know like you'd get like an extra year, so I probably would have stayed at Iowa State because I would have 2 years instead of just that 1 year because Brock was there. That's what I was gonna say. But with Philly, I think I learned a lot of just like life lessons more so than like on the field. And then transferring from Temple to University of San Diego. Let's see here. How is that portal like? I guess it's important to note that the first time I was transferring from Iowa State, my best friend, Braden Narverson, who was a kicker at Iowa State,
Mhm.
who's now at NC State. He's going to do great things. And also who just got engaged. Shout out to him and Shelby. So he went to University of San Diego for like a semester. And he obviously was planning on staying there. However, COVID happened. University of San Diego is a lot of money. He's like, what? And at the FCS level, like a lot of teams didn't even play. You know what I mean? They pushed their season to the spring. So he was like, I'm not about to be here not playing football and paying a ton of money. So, but he was kind of recruiting me to go there the first time when I was transferring. I was like, okay, I kind of like it. Like, I love San Diego. And so the second time around, I kind of had San Diego in the back of my head, just being able to come closer to home. Obviously, I kept going further and further, you know, whether it was Iowa and then Philly, you know. Hey, I kind of want to come a little closer to home my last time around. And that's kind of why I wanted to go to the University of San Diego.
Denny says you can go to the New York Jets. Jack Trice East with the rest of the guys over there.
Hey, please, not turn that down for sure.
No,
go ahead, Tim. Nope, that's right. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say. So, you did all your transfer portal stuff before NIL became a thing, but now you're getting to see what that process looks like. What are you seeing that is different about that process because of NIL?
NIL, oh my gosh. Wow, you know, it makes you want to wish you're a couple years younger. So, wow, some of these deals, you know, you kind of want to think about like, oh wow, like I was, you know, somewhat of a highly recruited guy. Like I could have benefited a little bit from the whole NIL scheme of things. I mean, man, if I was, you know, NCAA official, I'd be, you know, pulling my hair out. But at the end of the day, like you can only control so much. And so, yeah, the landscape is a lot of these, you know, organizations or I guess universities are, you know, they have outside funding that most of the time they call collectives, where, you know, boosters and whoever wants to donate money can donate money to these collectives, and the collectives can then, you know, try to recruit high school kids that way. It is something. It is something. I've been able to, you know, kind of reach out to companies that I've been interested in, to ask if they want to do, you know, partnerships, sponsorships, stuff like that. And so my dynamic with NIL is different just because schools aren't using that leverage to get me, you know what I mean? Because that's like, you know, younger guys right now. So, man, I mean, that landscape of NIL it's only going to grow. And, I mean, kids are, you know, nowadays, you go on to Texas, you know, you're getting $2-3 million just to go there. And you're 18. You know, so it is something that you just hope that those kids, you know, have a good enough foundation, a financial responsibility that they can, you know, manage that money the right way and whatnot. But it's definitely going to be, because if you're not a big school and you don't have a ton of money, it's kind of going to be hard for you to compete with those other schools that have a lot of money.
It's interesting because the complaint for the longest time, and I still think this is absolutely true, right? So baseball has a farm system, right? If you're a 19-year-old kid and maybe college isn't for you, you have a path to the pros, right? The NBA has gotten a lot better with that. You're actually seeing kids forgo college, go to the G League, find a path to the pros. It's not to the level of Major League Baseball, but it's still there. College has always been the farm system for the pros when it comes to the NFL. Now, maybe you're starting to see a little bit of that change with XFL. We've seen some guys come through XFL and get some opportunities in camps this year. Keem's doing a great job. Yeah, I mean, I know he was drafted and he went to the XFL and is now, you know, made a name for himself and got back on and is impressing in camp and things are good like that. So you're maybe kind of getting that. It's not, you know, an official farm system, but it almost seems like that's something that competes with college in a lot of ways. But I don't know that the NIL fixes the problem that college is the farm system for the NFL.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think so either. I mean, obviously as an athlete, like I'm happy for it. Obviously, like I said, I wish it was 3 years ago, but hey, it is what it is. I'm happy. My kids hopefully will be able to benefit from it. And then like another thing, just side topic, So as a kid growing up, you're playing the NCAA video game, football video game, and you just look forward to maybe you'll be on the game, and then all of a sudden you go to college and they take a literally 7-year hiatus just when you're in college.
have you cursed out Ed O'Banion? Ed O'Banion did that one.
Bring that conversation here real quick.
Oh God, that's funny. That's hysterical. That would be a lot of fun. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're gonna take another break. We're gonna grab a word from our sponsor, Kyle Lehman at Wintrust Mortgage. When we get back, we have a question. Chris, do you want to tease the question now, or do you?
We'll tease the question now.
Right, go ahead. Go ahead.
So, normally, Real, we have old people on this podcast, so we ask the question that if you had a time machine and you could go back 10 years, what would you tell Real? But that's a 13-year-old Real. That doesn't seem as fun. So 10 years from now, and we'll get your question after the commercial. What do you hope you're remembered about or for in 10 years? So with that, we're going to listen to a word from Kyle at Wintrust Mortgage.
Are you in the market for a new house and unsure of the mortgage process? Want to know that you have someone looking out for you? Kyle Lehman from Wintrust Mortgage is a down-to-earth, knowledgeable lender who can be there for you in your corner. He can work with you in any of the 50 states and is just what you need to expand your home search. Kyle will work with you through the entire process with little to no work from you. Take the worry of the mortgage process out of the equation so that you can focus on looking for your dream home. Contact Kyle at www.wintrust.com/Kyle-Lehman or call him at 515-473-0546.
Okay.
Yeah,
We're back.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Rael, the question right before that break, once again, is 10 years from now, what do you hope 10 years from now Rael Mitchell is looking back and thinking, man, I'm proud this is what I'm remembered for?
Yeah, that is a great question. And luckily I kind of have a 10-year plan. So let's dive into it a little bit. So 10 years from now, I really want, so I have a whole like philanthropy, I guess, idea that I'm hoping football can do most of the funding for that. And that's going to be a program that deals with the homeless population. And basically, I don't want to throw out too much in case anyone's out there going to steal my idea, but it would be something along the lines of, you go out in your community and to wherever like a heavily, dense population of homeless people are, you kind of, I guess, interview in a sense a couple of them. And what I really want to do is I want to take them out of that situation, fund for their housing, provide them with rehab, get them a stable job. This would be like a 1 to 2 year program where I can get their credit back into good standings. But I mean, the real message that I want to, I guess, send is through Christianity and how Jesus Christ obviously, is everyone's savior. And really, that's really what hopefully the main benefit is of the program. There'd be, multiple Bible studies a week and stuff like that. And that's kind of like the philanthropy idea that I have in mind. So hopefully in 10 years, that's up and running and hopefully up and running for a little bit of time. And so, I mean, shoot, if I die at, what would that be? I guess 33, then hopefully that foundation can keep on going and help out that homeless population that I care about so much.
That is really incredibly noble and way more more positive than I think, way more anthropic than I would be. I just hope people think that I was funny at one point. No, I really appreciate that. I think that is fantastic, and I really hope that whatever comes next for you as you finish up your college career and figure out what that next stage of your life helps to kind of kickstart that as well. I think you have a lot of opportunities yet ahead of you that I imagine you'll be able to actually have to make some choices here that are some good choices to have to choose between.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully, yeah, I appreciate that. Definitely.
I'll ask one question kind of out of the blue here. Again, to circle back to your time at Iowa State. Matt Campbell's pretty tight-lipped with media, and he has this coach speak down or whatever. What's your favorite Matt Campbell lose his mind moment or funny moment? Like, pull the curtain back a little bit on Coach Campbell and give us a little bit of a good story here.
Okay, hold on. Hold on. All right, that's a good question here. Let me think. I mean, when I think about Coach Campbell, like, you immediately want to like run through a brick wall for the guy. I mean, he has something about him. One of the main things I'm taking away from like Iowa State and just him as a coach is how his outlook is on adversity. I think he welcomes adversity, and that's something that he instills in his players. And that's something that like I look for adversity at this point. Like, I want something hard in my life so that I can conquer it, type of thing. And that's kind of his philosophy and the messages that he preaches to his players. But in regards to like something funny or just something like worth bringing up, let me think.
I mean,
go ahead.
He's lost his mind at some point, or
I'm trying to think. I think he had lost his mind. I'm trying to think what game that was. Either it was like Baylor at home.
Oh, well, that game clearly. I mean, famous photo of him shaking Matt Rule's hand, and the look on his face like, I ain't got time for this guy. It's legendary.
Yeah. Was that also? That's got to be. Yeah, that's the game where like
where David Montgomery got kicked out and Josh Kniffel came running back onto the field. And
Yep.
Oh man, that's such a good memory. It was so crazy. It was so crazy. Just as you're watching it on the big screen, you're like, what's going on here? Obviously, as a player, I'm not running on the field because like I'm just not doing that at the time. Especially I played quarterback too. I'm like, not me. But maybe that'd be probably one of the best memories. I think he was more so like Coach Campbell's such a player guy that like he was for it. You know what I mean? Like, obviously you don't want your best player to get ejected, but at the same time, he's like, hey, like, they want to fight, like, let's fight, type of thing. I think that's probably one of my best memories that has to do with Campbell.
It's really interesting because you're not the only player that we've talked to that has played for Coach Campbell. I kind of got into it on Twitter here recently because there seems to be one piece after another about the local football coach here in Minnesota, and a lot of Minnesota fans want to say, oh, these are just hit pieces. They do hit pieces on everybody, blah, 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 blah. I've never seen a quote unquote hit piece on Matt Campbell because I don't think you'd be hard pressed to find too many players that have, like you said, like you all want to run through a brick wall for the guy. Like the culture is just very much, and it's not about him, right? It's about team. You have to feel like you're not a part of Matt Campbell's program there, that you're just a part of the Iowa State program. And I think that's something where for that story, it kind of goes both ways, right? He's a part of that program too, so he also wants to help you guys. I'm sure he want to run through a brick wall for you guys.
No, yeah, literally, and that's, as a coach, that's what you want to be, you know what I mean? Because you're going to get your most out of your players that way. I think, like, I guess maybe this is a side note, but it's something I really wanted to mention is that when it comes to, like, receiving an offer from, like, Iowa State, Obviously, like you have different institutions, whether it's, maybe like Harvard or Stanford, Northwestern, where when you get that type of offer, obviously, you know how highly successful that school is academically. But I think when you get an Iowa State offer, it really has to do with not only academics, but like character and how much that represents you. Because obviously I've been a part of that program and I know the type of players that go there. And I think how those coaches vet their players and their recruits is something that, you get an Iowa State offer, you're someone of high character, and are going to be determined at attacking life straight on. And that's just something I kind of wanted just to put out there because I think that's something that needs to be said.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
100%.
No, I very much appreciate that. I think your character is very apparent as we talk to you, and I think that speaks volumes, not just to you, but to the program in general. So I very much appreciate you pulling that out as an aside. Chris, what else do we have for Real?
We're going to finish up with this last segment. It is Real, what we like to call the STFU segment, where we both shut the F up and let you say whatever you want. Carte blanche. You have free reign to say whatever you want. And again, I will reiterate that this is my favorite segment because we had Steph Copley on, and she told Tim to shut the F up because he wouldn't.
She literally said on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, "That's not the history of this program." But you go ahead and you keep up with your invented history.
Well, considering Steph doesn't even know how to run her own segment, she spoke during the middle of it. In regards to that, we invite people to go to the Young Women's Resource Center, which is a charity that is close and near and dear to Steph's heart, and donate to the Young Resource Center. So we're going to play a quick note from Steph, and then Real, we'll come back. Tim and I will shut the F up, and you can say whatever you want. And if that even means that you say, boy, you really wish you were playing at Iowa State right now, we wouldn't have a problem with that either.
For sure. Good.
Hey everybody, it's Steph Copley, the woman behind the STFU segment on the Old Man Strength podcast. When I told the guys I wanted to sponsor this segment, they recommended that I make a charitable donation instead, so that's what I did. I chose the Young Women's Resource Center in Des Moines, Iowa. They're a nonprofit that supports, educates, and advocates for girls and young women ages 10 to 24. Their whole goal is to make sure that these young women become strong, self-confident, and successful. And if you know me at all, you know that aligns with my goals as well. If you're interested and would like to donate, check them out at ywrc.org and donate today. And remember, don't forget to STFU and listen every once in a while. Thanks.
All right, so we're back. Real, we're going to STFU, and you say whatever you want.
Man, okay. I wish I would have known about the segment because I've been saying side comments here and there that I could definitely would have thrown in right now. I guess, last segment, last thing I'd always like to say, when I'm speaking or whatnot is just to really end it with a bit of perspective of like my faith and how that's really been a huge driving force in my life. If you looked at my college career on paper, you might feel bad for me. But I think that with my perspective and my faith that I've had in giving my life to Jesus Christ, who's our Lord and Savior, who died on the cross for our sins, is something that continues to fuel me. And because at the end of the day, like to me, a lot of this stuff really doesn't matter. However, cycling football does matter a lot. However, if you're doing the right thing, you're living, by the word, following the 10 Commandments, a lot of societal issues will go away and really don't weigh as heavy on you. And so that's something that I'd want to, I guess, leave the audience with and this segment with would be that those 2 cents and go cycling football.
I love it. There was a very nib high football rules energy there at the very end. That was wonderful. Well, Rael, we really very much appreciate you taking the time. I know you're probably gearing up to get ready for the season and figuring out as well. What is kind of the next steps for you? So we really appreciate you taking time out of your day to chat with us. Man, I think you've got a whole host of people in Cyclone Nation that are pulling for you. Excited to see what's happening next, and I really hope that whatever comes next for you, that you can find some time to come back and chat with us and see what the next stage of your journey is.
No, definitely. I appreciate your guys' time for having me, and yeah, I look forward to doing that. Definitely.
Rial, it's been a pleasure, and I will just say that whatever adversity that you may, or that, to your point, what people may think you went through, you were going to touch somebody with how you come through it. So I really want to thank you for that perspective and for what you said. I really great stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that a lot.
Well, listeners, you have once again spent. Honestly, this was not time wasted whatsoever. You got a lot of nuggets of wisdom, a lot of fun stories, a lot of great things, because it was not Chris and I trying to share anything, so that was perfect. We do appreciate you listening to us. Please go ahead and check out all of the other podcasts on Three Beards Media, all the other content that we have. Growing by the day. Chris, anything else you kind of want to say about what all we have going on at Three Beards?
Nope. We are gearing up for football season. We've got Hawk's Eye View that's going to start. You know what? As much as it's a Hawkeye podcast, I'm super excited for those guys to launch that. They're going to do something a little different. They're going to do a immediate game reaction show right after football games, so people will be able to comment about how much Brian Ferentz sucks. So that'll be super exciting. We want to give the fans an avenue to be able to do that. But other than that, we got some pods releasing. I think you guys got Bitter Units. We've got Hot Mess Happy Hour coming out this week. And then we start again Sunday and Monday. So we are rolling.
We have a whole lot going on. So please go ahead and check out your Spotify, your Apple, whatever, your Amazon, your Courier Pigeon, however you get this content from us. Please go ahead and check that out. Please go ahead and again give our sponsors a look. Revelton Distilling, if you are down in Osceola, 1400 West Clay Street in Osceola, Iowa, go check them out. And please go ahead and contact Kyle Lehman at Wintrust Mortgage. And with that, we will see you guys next time.